Guru Vaiguru 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 Listening as the breath comes in, as the breath comes out. सत्य संगत कैसी जानिए जिथे एक हो नाम बखानिए एक हो नाम हुक्म है नानक सतगुरु दिया मुझाई जी. How do we recognize that satsangat where that one, that beloved, is being meditated upon, is being contemplated? सत्संगत कैसी जानी है जिथे एको नाम बखानी. Blessed are those who Maharaj brings themselves into the satsanga. Blessed are those who Maharaj themselves allows them to chant their name. Eko naam hukam hai, Nanak Satguru diya mujhaye ji. That Satguru themselves have gifted us themselves. As we chant their name, as we focus this mind on Vaheguru, we start to merge, we start to experience with that truth. we start to experience that peace, that bliss, that love. We start to experience our true nature. Man, tu jod sarup hai apna mool pehchan. That divine light that resides within every single one of us, that we have been instructed by Guru Maharaj to recognize. And so we go through lives, Guru Pyareo, as if in a dream. We think that this reality, when we open our eyes, is the truth. And we become absorbed in the day-to-day. We become absorbed in our finances, our wealth. We become absorbed in our family situations, conflicts, fears, worries, judgments. We try to make time for those Sataguni acts of charity, compassion, and religion, all the while believing that this is the only truth, this is the only reality, that what we achieve in this life, on a physical realm, on a material realm, is what matters. And as we go about our day-to-day, we walk around with this disconnection, with this hole inside of us. And we look to fulfill it with our relationships in the world, our children, our partners, our parents, our friends. We look to fulfill it with our achievements, with our seva. And sometimes it feels like that hole is filled. But again and again, life, the world, shows us that that is only temporary, because the next wave comes, the next dukh comes, the pain, the suffering. And again, we start our search again, analyzing, planning, plotting. How do I feel good? How do I feel successful? And all this while, Guru Pyareo, we have the ultimate solution. We have that gyan, that wisdom that has come from Paramatma themselves. Turki Bani Ai, Tin Sagali Chint Mitai. That Gurbani, that wisdom that has been given to us to get rid of all of our chinta, then Sagali Chinta Mitai, not just one fear, not just one worry, but all of our fears and worries become eradicated, become dissolved, disappear. When we connect to that Gurbani that has come from Vaheguru themselves. Sometimes I was having a conversation with somebody on the weekend. We sit and we look at our lives and we have regrets and we have desires. I wish my mother was loving or was around or that could protect me or could give me advice. And for whatever reason, maybe that mother figure hasn't been able to live up to that ideal, or that father figure is no longer there or does not fit our expectation or society's expectation. Or maybe it's our partner or our children. But Guru Pyareo Maharaj tells us, Purab Janam Kin Milisan Jogi Anta Ko Na Sahai. That these people, yes, they've been gifted to us to have in our lives. Vaheguru has put them in our lives for a reason. Whether you call it Vishalikaram, or whether you have a different understanding, they're in our lives for a reason. But Antakona Sahai, in the end, they don't go with us. They don't go with us beyond this body. And in that dark night of the soul, when we're struggling, when we're suffering, no one can truly fill that hole. So we have these expectations, we have these regrets within our mind. That only if this person was the way that I wanted them to be, they would fulfill me. But Gurbani Guru, that Bani that has come from our true mother, our true father, that gives us that true wisdom that we need to live this life in a beautiful, blissful way. And what that Gurbani points to is that experience of wholeness, that experience of deep-seated bliss and peace, said Anand. And again, Maharaj points us to that truth. Sahasa Siyanapa Lakhode, the Ikanachandena, that it doesn't matter how many books that you read, it does not matter how much you sit there and analyze why things are the way that they are and how they could be different and reframe your mind. That thinking alone, that intelligence alone is not going to bring that experience of sukh. And again in Jona Suti Angi, 1430 angs of Gurbani, Maharaji is pointing to that same truth again and again and again. That what is causing our suffering is this wall of illusion, is playing out in our mind through our thoughts, through our attachments, through that Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ahankar, Jugli, Jug, through those lustful desires, those expectations that never end, that turn into greed, that turn into attachment, that turn into our pride and our ego, that if we lose them, we get angry or we get anxious. And Maharaji doesn't just explain the problem to us like many modern day self-help books do, about our nervous system, about our mindset. Maharaji actually gives us the solution. And the solution isn't that you will be happy when you achieve X, Y, and Z. The solution is that that solution is already inside of you because you are joy, you are complete. Everything that you need and could possibly ever want and desire is already inside this mind, because this mind is that light of Vaheguru, is the drop in the ocean of Paramatma, the drop in the ocean of unconditional love, of peace, of love, of bliss, of wholeness, of completeness. And so what is that solution if these ideas are playing out in our mind that are leading us to separation, to judging, to fearing, to barriers, to blocks? Maharaji tells us, let that go, Vichar mare, tare tare, ulte jum na aave. That when you start to kill those thoughts, when you start to go beyond what you've been conditioned to think and believe, most of the time subconsciously, unconsciously, we are judging our lives based on a narrative that has been made up by society, usually middle-aged white men. And our dukh is coming from comparing ourselves and our lives to that false narrative. That narrative that is constantly playing out in our mind through those sponge-jawed and through the thoughts that they plant. Maharaj कहते कर करना लिख ले जाओ आपे बीच आपे ही खाओ. कर करना, again and again we think the same thoughts, we have the same emotions, that chemical reaction in our body, and then we react constantly to everything and everyone around us. And as we do that, as we think, as we judge, as we fear, instead of being nirpal and nirvair, without fear, without judgment, without hate, as we plant those seeds of fear or judgment and hate and separation, as we forget our beloved Paramatma Vaheguru, we plant those seeds that become weeds. And so Manaji invites us to come back to ourselves, to come home. Niज कर महल पावो सुख सहज बहुर न होएगो फेरा. That Nijgar, that Nijamel, that palace, that kingdom that is within inside this mind, where that home has been built for this mind to come to rest in peace, to become purified, to experience that unconditional love of Paramatma. That is where Paramatma, that is where Vaiguruji is inviting us to come back to again and again. Nijagara man. What happens when you access that true home? Nijagara man, Bhavaho Sukha Sahaji. That's where that true sukh, that true peace, that deep-seated sense of saj comes from. That is what the Shaheed Singh and Singhaniya of the past, that could have themselves and their children cut piece to piece, that's what they were accessing. And so when we compare that to our day-to-day problems, if they could be cut piece to piece or have their children cut piece to piece, and they could still be in this state of saj, undisturbed, undeterred by what was happening around them, we should ask that question, what were they accessing that I am not? What were they accessing that Paramatma, that Vaheguru has gifted us through Gurbani? Why is it that we're having to experience this look again and again in this lifetime, day to day and beyond this lifetime? And Maharaji tells us, Vichar Mare, Tare Tare, Ult Junna Ave, that when you kill those thoughts, Tare Tare, you'll be saved. You will swim across this ocean of Maya, Ult Junna Ave, and you will not have to experience these same stories, these same lifetimes that we live within each day. You will be free, you will be booked of that. And what is that instruction? That instruction is to Bashan, to recognize your true self. And we do that through the Simran, with the support of the Sadh Sangha, with the instruction of Gurbani. So as we allow our mind to connect to that truth, that no matter where we are running, in which direction we are searching, that truth remains Father such, Jugad such, heavy such. That truth will always be the same, that only through that connection to Paramatma. Throughout the ages, that's where that wholeness has come from, whether it was Prahlad, whether it was any of the Bhagats before the times of Guru coming into their human form. Whether it was Dhruv, whether it was Ganegal, the prostitute, whether it was Sajjan Thug, whether it was the lowest of the low that became the highest of the high, was all through one way, and that was Ram Nam. That was through meditation, contemplation upon the name. And as we chant the name by Guru, we merge with the experience. We merge with our beloved by Guru, because this is all about the mind. So let's connect to that Guru mantra. As we chant, we might have been doing Simran for a while. We might have tried and failed and come back again and again. So let's explore in a moment. Let's do some Simran for a few minutes and then explore what are those Ragavana, what are those barriers that stop us from connecting, even though we know that this is the path, this is the way. So let's start by reminding ourselves again and again, what is that jukti, what is that technique? Maharaji gives it to us, simplifies it in Japji side. Gamiya, sing those praises of Paramatma. Wa Guru. It's not enough to just chant with your tongue. This is a game of the mind. So as we chant, we listen, suniya, because it's the mind that is Jodh Sarup. It's the mind that needs to merge, and it's also the mind that is Chanchala, Mana Chanchala. It's the mind that gets distracted by the Panch Jod. So this is a game of the mind. So we invite the mind to listen. We give the mind the anchor of the Guru Mantra. We give the mind the focus of the Guru Mantra, because what we focus on, we become. We give the mind the seva of chanting the Guru Mantra, Jaisa Seva, Jaisa Hoye, because what we serve with this mind, we become. And as we serve, why Guru, we become like why Guru. Gaviye, suniye, mana rakhiye pao, and we chant with that love, that loving desire to meet our true source, to experience their love once more. So I'll relax your body, sit comfortably, close your eyes from any distractions. If you have little children, you can keep a soft focus as we do this. As we chant, continue to chant. And just keep, just like when you have a child and you might need to leave the room for a second, your dhyan, your attention is still on that child, even if you look away or you're in a different room. In the same way, as the thoughts of the mind come and go, we bring our attention back again and again to Paramatma. Just as someone who is flying a kite can talk to their friends, but their dhyan, their attention is in flying that kite. We can do our worldly jobs, but we bring this mind, we keep it attached to those charan of Paramatma. What are those charan? What are those feet? Chit, charan, naam. To put our chit, to put our attention on those feet is to put our attention on naam. And that first form of naam is to chant the Akhari naam, the naam, the name of language that we have called Vaheguru, that some say Allah, that some say Ram, that some say Yahweh. And as we chant, as we focus on that Akhari naam, that physical, worldly form, the mind starts to transcend language. And then we start to connect to that internal naam, that Shabad within all of us. So let's connect with that Guru Mantra. Relax your body, close your eyes, chant with your tongue, listen with your ears, and have that loving desire to connect, to experience Paramatma Karusha. Why Guru, 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 why Guru. Chanting internally under in a happy way. Exhale. महसूस करो, feel into that experience of the mind, feel into that hazuri of Paramatma, that presence, heart there, near person that our hands to our face. The beloved resides within, without, within all. And as we do that Simran, we might notice that the mind goes to the story of man, of me, of I, of he, of she, of they. What I need to do, what I did, what they did, what they did need to do. But Maharaj ji कहते हैं, तू तू करता, तू हुआ, मुझ में रहा नाम. And instead of spending these breaths saying me, I, to bring this mind back to tu, ek tui, that one, that you, that Vaheguru, that creates, that sustains. So as we chant, we bring this mind back to you, back to Vaheguru, back to the truth. Again and again and again. Chanting you, I become you. Mujh mein Rama. And we let go, we dissolve that sense of me, of I, that separate identity that needs to perform, that needs to become something or someone to feel whole. As we dissolve that in place of you, we pashan, we recognize, we experience that wholeness, that completeness that is already. But Guru Pyareo, only if we make time, if we make space in this mind to find our true selves, will we find it. Guru Mukh Hove Sukaya. Only that one that searches, that investigates within this mind, within this body, that looks for the truth, will find it. So what's the opening up in Vichar? How many of these breaths a day? How much time do I spend to finding my true self? And how much do I spend believing the story of the world of tomorrow? So what are those that are governed? What are those barriers that stop us from taking, from prioritizing that time, from gifting that, even that dasavand, that 10% of breaths in a day? And we say we give that 10% to Maharaj, but Maharaj is only asking us to give that 10% for our own bala, so that we can see so we can experience that peace and that love. Maharaj has nothing to gain because they are already complete. It's through their compassion, through their love, that they give us their Gurbani, that they give us this method of Nam Simran, so we can come home to them. It is for us. It's not a should do, it's not a have to, it's not a bad person if you don't. It's for you. It's for Sarvata Phala, for the good of all. And what gets in the way, when we sit, when we try to chant, what gets in the way is that story of who you believe you are, of that story of how you think things should be, of why people do not behave the way you want them to, or why you do not show up the way that you want to. But that story has been created by the Panchjot. That story has been created by people in this world who are driven by this Panchjot. And so if we're willing to give ourselves up in this practice of Bhagavanya, only if we let go of our own mud in this moment, of our own ideas in this moment, will that true divine self be revealed. So those expectations, Guru Pyarya, that judgment gets in the way. One of the biggest ragavats, one of the biggest barriers to our bhakti, to our connection, is Ninda Jugli, is that judgment, is that constant talking, thinking about who is right and who is wrong. Even if it's turned towards yourself, it will stand in the way. Because who are you to judge when the Creator creates perfection? Has Vaheguru ever made a mistake? It's not possible. Puran Guru Avtar. That Parmeshwar has never in the history of mankind made a mistake. People driven by the Panchjot, of course. But what people do is not our business. What our business primarily is what are we do. Ulan andar sab ko apul Guru Karpa. That we all forget, we all make mistakes, and only remembering who we are, bring that Simran, so we can experience that truth. So if we are spending these breaths, if we're spending our energy day to day judging another, judging ourselves, then we are wasting those breaths according to Gurbani. Because where we could have been in peace, in bliss, in connection, we have lost that breath to fear, to resentment, to anger, to judgment. So we want to be aware of what this mind is thinking, what this mouth, this tongue is saying, what actions we are doing that is causing dukkha, that is causing duality, two-ness instead of oneness. Our only job in this world is to look after what our mind is doing. And as we do that, Guru Pyari, we change the world, we change those around us. But it starts with us. The only jagara that we should be focused on right now is that jagara, that fight with our own mind between the Panchjot and connecting to that Atma, Paramatma. And as we start to conquer our own mind, Manijita, Jagajit, I, Panthi, Sagala Jamati, Manajita, Jyoti. As we conquer our own mind, we will see that Sagala Jamati, we will see the entire creation as one. And from that place of love, of compassion, of wisdom, we can guide another. But we cannot do that when ourselves we are separated in fear, in judgment, in disconnection. So the invitation is to be the gatekeeper, to be the bearer, the security guard of your own mind. Many of us watch what we eat. We don't want to put poison in our bodies. We're so proud when we give up alcohol or meat or drugs. But what poison are we letting into our mind? Through that gossip, through that slander, through that judgment, through those fears. Some of us take it to the next level. We cut out processed sugar, we cut out other foods that are not good for us, and we replace it with healthy foods. We go to the gym. We stay away from bad sangat, and all of these things are positive, they are good, they will help us on this journey. But what sangat are we doing in our mind? Whose company are we keeping? Are we keeping the company of the Panchchor that will tell us to judge and hate and fear? Or are we keeping the company of the Atma, Paramatma, that experience of love, of compassion, of peace, of patience? And so be that bearer of your own mind. See what is coming in, see what is going out of this mouth, what is being enacted through our physical actions. And many people stop doing the Simran because when they sit with their thoughts, when they allow them to arise, they're not comfortable with it. It's harsh. And it's not that I started to do Simran and now I'm getting these harsh thoughts. That was already there. We just didn't look at it. We spent so much time distracted on our phones, in our thoughts, that we never make time to see what's already there. And until we see what's already there, we can't clean up. Only if we recognize that we have this home, this ego, can we find the cure to it. कृपा करे जे अपनी गुरु का शब्द कमाए. Once we recognize this home, this ego, this separation in ourselves, then we will look for that cure of Nam to go beyond the judgments and the fears, beyond the Panchchor, into that place, that home of truth, of love. And as we start to do that, this vicious cycle becomes a virtuous cycle. As we do more Simran, we want to spend time in satsanga and talk about Vaheguru and contemplate Vaheguru and ask questions about Vaheguru. And as we do that, our mind wants to read Gurbani and learn more about Vaheguru. And as we do that, we get inspired to chant, to connect, to experience Vaheguru. And that becomes our virtuous cycle. So let's once again put that into practice. As we sit in the Sangha, the Sad Sangha, we fulfill our true purpose. We've been given this precious human birth. Why? Govind Mirangi, it's your turn to meet my need. Agar kaaj tere kite na kaam. No other actions are of account that are going to serve you. Feel the sangat, Raji, even come into that sadhu sangat, meditate on the name. And as you do that Simran in sangat, you obtain the highest sangat of Paramatma themselves. So sitting comfortably, closing off the 9 doors of the body from the external distractions, closing the eyes, using the mouth and the tongue to chant, using the ears to listen, and with love, bringing this mind back away from the fire of the Panchchor, of the judgments and fears, and bringing it back to that cooling shade of the now, of the truth. So as we chant, listen, the mind wanders, bring it back again and again, bar and bar, repetitively, again and again and again. And as we practice, we progress. So if you feel that you're getting too many intrusive thoughts, you can start to chant louder to awaken your mind. Simmer, 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 Guru Apana, Swaya Man, Jagai. We want to awaken this mind from the stories of the thoughts of the Panchchor. And sometimes when we want to get someone's attention, we call their name louder. And so we're not trying to call Vaheguru because they can't hear us. Vaheguru's Hazara Hazur, they're right here, their presence. It's our mind that needs awakening. So Kirpa Karo. Why Guru, 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 why why Guru, 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 why Never underestimate the power of posture. Through a subtle web over our eyes, over our senses. And even as we chant why Guru, they steal our presence. They distract us through thoughts. So sometimes we have to overcome ourselves and give this Simran everything that we have. So we're just going to spend a minute or two doing yoga, fighting these ones jawed with the Shastra or the Shabad. We do this so our mind can awaken, so we can wake up from the dream that we think that is reality, of pain and suffering. And as this mind awakens, as this mind becomes enlightened, that Jodh within us becomes manifest. Guru Sakhi Jodh Paragata. So as we spend a few minutes chanting loud, chanting fast, we're going to put everything into this. No one is to be shy. Sharmika. When we're doing actions driven by the Manjur in our mind, when we're doing Ninda Jagli, no one is shy. So yeah, let's do this Simran. Let's let go of ourselves and allow that mind to awaken. Gutta man, Vasavati, allow them we're going to beat this mind. And then after 2 minutes, we're going to check what difference it's made. So sit with your back straight as we chant Y, very slightly clicking your nabhi or belly button. As we chant Guru, exhale, release, and letting go of any inhibitions. We're only going to do this for about 2 minutes, and then we'll chant instead. So I'll What Guru, 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 what Guru. Guru facilitating with beating mind is checked. Is the mind awake and aware? We dropped some of these stories. So now we continue to chant instead. As we chant why, putting your full attention on the shadow of the eye, beginning, middle, and end. As we chant Guru, listening to the sound of the very first full attention on the Guru, on the Guru. As we chant why, pulling that nappy, that belly button slightly. As we chant Guru, release and exhale. There'll be a slight pause between the why and the Guru as you hold your breath in that pause. So we chant why, listen, pause, Guru, exhale, pause. Why, belly button in, listen, Guru, belly button out, exhale. So this is not going to be breath of fire or anything like that, just a very slight movement. And put all of your attention on that Jugati for now. You will not have time to think of anything else. And as the mind becomes single focused, ekaman, ekachita, it learns how to transcend those stories of the mind. And as we focus on that technique, on that Jugati, the mind will start to absorb itself into the sound of the shadow. Guru Bohite. And as it becomes absorbed in that name, it will be carried to its true home of peace. So make sure that you're sitting comfortably, that you're not getting distracted by your body. There might be noise from the children as we're doing this. Your job is to keep your own focus. Children will do what children are meant to do, but your job is your own attention. So Shabad Guru, Surat, Origin, Riga Surti, our attention in the Shabad of Wahid Guru, in the word, in the sound. Karukir. Why, Guru, why, Guru, why, Guru, why, Guru, why, Guru, why, Guru, why, As we're chanting, keep your eyes still, your attention in front of you, between the eyes, slightly in front, with your eyes closed from a single point, making sure that the eyes remain still, focused on that. Chanting internally, inhale, exhaling through the exhale, keeping the mind focused on the good mantra. Slowly, bringing your attention to that single point and just listening. Any good monk that can hear the internal struggle, listen to the struggle. Otherwise, no chanting now. Just keeping your attention on that single point and listening. Actually, and listening. As we sit in this us, listening to the state of listening, the mind returns to its true being. Sahaj kar, nij kar. And as the mind returns to its true being, experiences that divine peace. It experiences that Ishna, that cleansing. It experiences being home. And as the mind comes home again and again, is the kalesh, the pains, the conflicts start to become eradicated, dissolved. Dukh Balahat, Sukh Kailat, and Sukh, that deep-seated peace, takes its place. Watch those feelings, heal kar vaisu, har jan pyare, Satguru tumhare, kaaj samare. And as you become Hari Bhajan, as you become the loving devotee, restored to the light, to Paramatma, Hari, as your mind becomes stabilized and goes to its true being, Satguru tumhare, kaaj samare. And Satguru themselves is resolving all of your affairs. That is the true Kamai, the true work, the true purpose of this life is to go and to come out of those attachments, those patterns that we've been stuck in for lifetimes. Going with God, God with God, with God. The only thing that Govind Hari Vaheguru desires for us is for us to experience that love. So many have been the Bhagwan Kanya, please forgive any mistakes. And let's do that collective little dance. May we meet our beloved in this lifetime. Devo Sajan, Asisaria, Jo Howe, Sahib Sube, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru